My educational philosophy can be divided into three separate areas: literacy, culture, and social justice. I believe that it is a special education teacher's obligation to engender a sense of each of these inside and outside of the classroom, and that fulfilling each of these criteria makes up the majority, albeit not the entirety, of a special education teacher's duties. The first dimension of my educational philosophy is literacy. For me, the essence of literacy rests in meaning and rule following. By literacy, I do not mean entirely merely reading the printed word. Instead, teaching literacy entails connecting students with their communities and their world as fully participating members. This requires a special education teacher to consider literacy in the broadest of terms. In the past, I've worked with my cooperative teachers to challenge students to consider in what ways learning a musical instrument, or playing football, or changing the oil in a car all qualify as different kinds of literacy. Teaching literacy to students with disabilities emphasizes this functional and meaningful aspect of reading texts. This way, one begins to see all different kinds of literacy in one's world, from being able to read a bus schedule, to being able to interpret another human being's emotions, to being able to look outside at the weather outside and know what to wear for school that day. It's this idea of literacy, of how literacy interacts and mingles with our everyday lives, that interests and excites me today, and that I hope I can use to enrich my professional life. The second aspect of literacy, of educational, the second aspect of my educational philosophy is culture. Every teacher is responsible for engendering a classroom climate that creates a powerfully positive and productive environment in which students can learn. More than that, however, a teacher must recognize the ways in which this climate is an extension of his own beliefs and values. Special education teachers, who serve a diverse population, especially need to project a purposeful and thoughtful classroom climate. Whether we perceive it or not, everything that takes place within our classroom walls affects our students. Our instructional methods, our behavioral management techniques, even the physical layout of our room has an impact on our students. I don't believe that teachers are arbiters of morality, but they do model ethics, and being an ethical member of a culture means being versed in a particular set of social rules. Ethics itself remains a type of literacy. The third domain in my philosophy is the concept of social justice. Just as special education teachers are responsible for cultivating a classroom culture that is beneficial for their students, they are also obligated to expand this sense of community into the rest of the students' lives. For many of our students, school is the only place in their lives where they can find safety or stability. Students with disabilities, in particular, ought to have teachers who are also their advocates and who are willing to effect positive change in their communities. Each of these aspects of education, literacy, culture, and justice, influence and informs one another. The culture that a teacher establishes affects the lives of her students outside of the classroom. Students' experiences in the world determine their abilities to interpret and navigate it, and the literacy skills that these students bring with them impact the way a teacher will teach during the school day. If a special education teacher can successfully implement each of these elements into his work each and every day, then I believe that he will fulfill his obligations to his students.